My name is Valentine Jarata. I am from Zimbabwe. I moved to South Africa and stayed there for 12 years, then moved to the USA, and I've been here for 4.5 years. Today, I'm graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree. Everyone has a story. Every story deserves to be owned, told, and celebrated. So here is my story. While I was in South Africa, I came across Janet Ranke's videos on Facebook talking about international students in the USA. I became obsessed with watching her videos and moved on to YouTube, and I learned more about the process. Around the same time, Oprah Winfrey had an interview with Tererai Trent. And hearing those two stories, honestly, it inspired me so much. So that's when I started seriously researching about how to become an international student in USA. During the same time, there was a post on Facebook, I think under Janet Ranke's post, where students were telling each other to team up and do the application process together. And most of the students were from Kenya, because I know Janet Ranke is somewhere from Kenya as well. Ashlyn Malingu is my friend from Kenya, and we are still friends to this day. And she was so hands-on. She was the one who was setting up Zoom meetings with nursing schools. And we actually applied to 15 different nursing schools, and should set up some Zoom meetings with these nursing schools so that we understand the process. And they were so open to having these meetings with us. There was also another Kenyan friend in the group who suggested Iowa. Initially, I'd looked at Iowa myself, and I realized that it didn't have many people of color, so I was just a bit hesitant. But she encouraged us because her brother stays in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So that's how we ended up applying to this school. Unfortunately, my friends didn't make it to the USA. They couldn't get the visas. Out of the 15 schools that were applied to, Kirkwood was the first one to respond to us. So we were tired of waiting, after having so many meetings, countless meetings, and we would have them like in the middle of the night, because there is about a 6-hour difference between Africa and the USA. So the first school to respond was Kirkwood, and we were just like, we are going with it. Many people, when they realize that I'm an international student, the first question they ask is, why Iowa? Why Cedar Rapids? And I'm always like, no, Cedar Rapids chose me because I just went with the first school that responded. So the next process is very interesting because it all happened in 2 months. My sponsor was going to sponsor me once I arrived in the USA. So because of financial constraints, it ended up being 2 months. Otherwise, it could have been within a month. So Keck would send me my I-20 form, and which I used to book for an interview in South Africa. And fortunately, the U.S. Embassy was right next to my workplace. So I just took a lunch break and went for my interview. I was the first person to be interviewed. And normally that interview, it's like 2 minutes. But mine lasted for almost 10 minutes because I had to present my case, why I wanted to move to the USA, which is another vlog that I'll do separately. So after the interview, they told me I could leave my passport for courier delivery, and I had to make some payments, but I explained that I worked nearby, so I could just come and pick it up myself, which they agreed to, and I'm glad they did. So around 4 p.m. on the same day, because the interview was at 9 a.m., around 4 p.m. on the same day, they called me and they said my passport was ready, and they had put a sticker, like a visa. It's a sticker. It's something that they stick on your passport. So I went and I picked up my passport. I couldn't believe it. I was so overjoyed. So all this process happened within a space of a week. The only thing that delayed me was some financial constraints, because I had to find money for the flights. I had to save my notice at my former workplace, and obviously my sponsor was going to send me money once I arrive in the USA. So I am glad I have a mom, and she came aboard and she bought me a flight ticket, which made me so happy, and I appreciate that to this day. I did save my notice until month end. My flight ticket, I think we managed to buy it, I think a week before I left. So everything was just happening fast. I didn't expect the process to go so fast and swift, but it all happened just like that. I've always been a person who always shares my experiences. So I did share this experience about 4.5 years ago on WhatsApp groups for different students to know the process that I took and how long it took me to get here. So yes, this journey of sharing experiences didn't just start now. It started like 4.5 years ago. The crazy part about this whole thing is when I came to the USA, I didn't know anyone. No relative, no friend, nothing. There was one friend of mine whom I went to school with. May God bless his soul. We used to communicate, I think, until 2015, 2016. And then we just went quiet. We had that type of friendship where we would communicate, go quiet, and then after some time we get hold of each other, we just chat and, So when I got my visa, I remember that I had a friend, Tunga. We went together in high school, and he was an American by birth. So I tried getting hold of him, and then I went online, looked for his name, and I'm going on his profile, and I'm seeing people sending condolence messages. My God, I cried. Oh my God, it was a very hard time for me. I didn't know that he had passed on. So he had sort of like a twin or a little brother who stayed here in the USA. I got hold of him, and then I asked him what happened. He explained he was diabetic. He went into DKA when he visited back home. And yeah, I just didn't know this whole thing had happened. So if you've got a friend, please stay in touch. Try to be in touch with your friends most of the time. My experience wasn't so good. So later, I got in touch with some former classmates, a few, like 3 or 4. I know there are more, but I got hold of a few more. And the cousins, the people that I know who I might call relatives, I know now they are basically relatives, maybe cousins of cousins, where someone will be like, I have a relative who is there, just to us being Africans, us being communal. Otherwise, I know no one. I knew no one when I moved here. So it was an adventure coming into the USA, not knowing anyone. You have never been to that place, and I was in my late 30s. I was like 36 years old then. Thankfully, Kirkwood Community College is a very organized international students program. So I had communicated with them, told them I know no one, and they organized accommodation. Everything was set up for me. So they came, picked me up at the airport, took me to my apartment, and there was my first culture shock. The houses. I come from the southern part of Africa where houses are built with brick and mortar. And I remember when I was going on the internet looking at the houses, somehow I would land in Texas. I don't know why. I would think all houses look like the ones in Texas, in Dallas or Houston or something throughout the country. So I come to Iowa, I arrive, and I never paid attention from the airport to the apartment because I was excited. And then they parked the car outside my apartment and they're like, we have arrived. And then here I am looking at an apartment building, a wooden apartment building. And yeah, that was my first culture shock. I remember before I even got outside the car, I was like, do people really live in there? I mean, don't they break? But after getting inside and seeing how, they are so well made and furnished, I regret asking that. But it was a real actual culture shock. Back to my Bachelor of Science in Nursing journey. Honestly, nursing school was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I don't know if it was because I had to adapt being in a new place and, learn the way the school setup is set while I'm already a mature person. I don't know if it was that, but I really discovered that the nursing program is very difficult for everyone. I've never heard of anyone who says that they just cruised through. People, you have to study like a crazy maniac. You have to stay on top of the game. You have to stop your social life in order for you to make it. And especially discovering that you have to do prerequisites. It's two different complete schools in one school. You do your prerequisites, and the prerequisites are different. If you're not careful, you go to a community college which asks for too many prerequisites, and you pay a lot of money. And then other schools, they don't need so many prerequisites. So you had to do your research. And when we were doing our Zoom meetings while I was back in Africa, I never used to pay attention. I think I was too excited to be going to the USA, So I never really paid attention to the most important things. How many prerequisites are needed in a nursing school for you to proceed into the actual nursing school. And fortunately, the time that I came, it was just after COVID. And schools were a bit lenient at that time because many people had stopped going to school, and schools wanted to pick up from where they left. They wanted to pick up from the broken pieces. So they were a bit lenient. Otherwise, you get to a school, you do your prerequisites. If you don't have high grades, a high GPA, it might be difficult for you to get into nursing school. They have specific requirements, like you have to pass anatomy and biology at some school with a B, while other schools, they don't mind a C. And then you also have to apply, like after finishing your prerequisites, you apply to get into nursing school, and you have to be accepted to get into the nursing school. So once you get into the nursing school, if you stay at a community college, you will do 4 semesters. You finish your nursing school in 4 semesters. But if you transfer like what I did to a university, you finish your nursing school in 5 semesters. The only difference between the two is when you stay at a community college, you can proceed you can continue into nursing school during summer breaks. But when you go to universities, they specifically close schools during summer. Like the nursing school, most of their nursing schools, they don't carry over during summer breaks. They actually go on summer breaks. So the journey will seem long because you are having summer breaks in between the year. While if you stay at a community college, if you have the funds, if you have got the resources and the energy, you can. And I think once you're in nursing school, you actually don't have an option to have summer breaks. You just do it in 4 semesters. So you stay at a community college, you do it in 4 semesters. The first 2 semesters, that's when you get your LPN after completing the first 2 semesters. And then you complete the next 2 semesters, you become an RN. Obviously, you have to write the NCLEX exams. But if you move into a university, you do 5 semesters. In those, you might do maybe 4 semesters. That's if you get particular grades in certain classes, like you're supposed to get a B in a certain class. And well, some of us, we are not straight A students, so we'd get a C and would be happy that we made it through. So if you don't, you actually complete your nursing school in 2.5 years. And in between those 2.5 years, the summertime, you take breaks. The only summer period where you take a class, it's probably the last summer break. If you are taking, like, there's a preceptor class where you go on a 1-to-1 basis with a nurse in the hospital who will be guiding you through all the work because you are almost done. Otherwise, your 2.5 semesters, in between your 2.5 like in between your 2.5 years, you take summer breaks. So it looks like a long time. Otherwise, it's only 5 semesters. I took 6 semesters. How? I didn't do well in one class. And nursing school is very particular about failing a class. Once you are in the nursing program, you are only allowed to fail one class. If you fail the second time, you get kicked out of the program. And when they kick you out, it means you have to find a new nursing program, and that will be at a different school. And the sad part is you can't transfer your nursing classes. Let's say I've done 2 or 3 semesters well, I've passed them, and then I fell 2 times during my 3rd semester and my 4th semester, and I get kicked out. I can't transfer whatever classes I have done in another nursing school to another nursing school. So I failed one class, and I was supposed to graduate in December of 2025. And then I had to apply. So when you fail a class, you have to apply because they kick you out of the program. And then you apply to be taken back into the program. And you have to show that you have changed your ways on studying or something. You have to prove that you are worth taking back into their program. And then once they take you back, you have to make sure that you pass. You have no other option. Otherwise, if you fail, you are kicked completely out of the program. So I was under a lot of stress in my final semester because I failed a class just before my final semesters. So the final semester I had to make it whether I wanted or not. So yes, I had to retake a class, and it's a med-surg class. That class, 50% of nurses have retaken it. Believe you me, people just don't tell you that they've failed a class before. Many people fail a class. Only a few make it throughout nursing school without having to retake a class. So I took my med-surg class, and it turned out to be a blessing because I got to understand the concepts better. Obviously, when you do something for the second time and you're under pressure to pass it, you actually pay attention. So I had to retake a class, and then so what happened is that class, I took it in spring of 2025. I didn't do well. So I had to cancel my class that I was supposed to take in summer. I could have managed to take a class in summer because I was approaching my final semester. So the whole of summer, I didn't have to work. I didn't have to be in school. And then I had to retake that class in fall. That's from August to December. So this semester now, it's spring of 2026. This is January to May. That's when now I'm taking a class that I could have taken in summer of 2025. And summer, it's between May to August. So yeah, that's why I celebrate loudly. Like I know some people, they choose to celebrate quietly. I just told myself, you know what, after going through the things that you went through to be here, it's my choice. At least the social media has to allow me to choose between celebrating quietly or loudly. And I chose to celebrate loudly because I'm one person who loves sharing experiences. I don't want someone to go through the same mistakes that I went through. So I share. I want people to be motivated as well by my journey, because there's something also to learn from my life, in as much as there's something to learn from your life. So yes, I love sharing, and here I am sharing my story. So today I'm graduating. Now I'm a BSN holder, and I am so grateful for the support, for the love, from all of you. My friends have become family, I'm in a foreign land together with my friends who are also international students. So we ended up creating our strong bonds, our relationships. We turn up at each other's graduations. We are celebrating when someone breaks down. We are there. We talk to each other. I am grateful. I am grateful for this journey. And then again, something about nursing school is like I got a job 6 months before graduation. That's another thing about nursing school, which I'll share separately. Stay with me in my storytelling journey, because I'll share all my experiences, what's going to happen after graduation, if I'm going to stay, if I'm going to go home, if I'm, I would love for you to come with me throughout this journey. But I really appreciate you being with me up until now. Until next time, take care.